do one of those mediums this morning?
I was so caught up in that back to look at that.
All right, we're live. Hey, everybody. I'm just posting on Discord that we are now live. Tell your ma, tell your pa. We are here. See, that's why you do those. That's why most live streamers do those wait screens when you first watch it. Like for a few minutes, you just got like a song playing or something. Give people a chance to share the link and get in.
Okay.
Right now, we're talking to the future because people are just signing on. This is when we could tell all our secrets.
So we are on air. We are.
Hey, Magpie! Look at that. All right, we got action. Welcome to Jabber Jawn. Thank you for watching. This is my father, Steve Moore.
Hey there.
Good friend Kyle Hogg. I'm Nathan Moore, and welcome to the show. This is a talking show where we don't plan anything. We have no idea what we're about to talk about. You might be able to inspire it here. Hey, Ben, welcome to the show. What do you guys want to talk about? What's on your mind? We're here for you. How y'all been? How you been, Dad? I haven't talked to you this
I've
week.
been up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roller coaster.
Yeah. Not much of a roller coaster. It's kind of one little hill after little small hills and valleys and rest areas. But yeah, I'm pulled over by the side of the road and rest area at the moment. We'll be all right.
Well, thanks for being here.
I'm glad I could get on down here.
How about
Did you
yourself?
hear about the roller coaster Carowinds in North Carolina where people were hung upside down for like
Oh,
hours?
I heard about the one where one of the customers detected a crack. That was a big story this week.
Oh, I've heard
There's a hero out there detected a big crack in the seam of one of the roller coasters, and they had to shut it down. And they showed pictures of it, and it looked like it was severed, like he might have saved lives.
Oh, I wonder if it's the same thing. Somebody was just telling me that some people were caught, like just hung upside down for like a couple hours so they got the ride started.
'Tis the season. Were you a roller coaster man?
I didn't like rides. If you're talking about a Ferris wheel, that's a different thing.
You like that?
I liked the Ferris wheel.
Even as a child, no, not roller coasters?
It never scared me. I liked the Ferris. The roller coasters, just the up and down, and I got a little nausea. And I got a little like car sick or something.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't enjoy it. It didn't scare me that much, but I didn't like going that fast or that rough boom boom. Yeah, I'm not much for rides.
Right, never were.
Never were.
Bumper cars.
How about yourself? Bumper cars.
Did you ever do bumper cars?
I've probably only once or twice in my life. I kind of like bumping into people, but
Didn't like getting bumped.
yeah, well, it didn't bother me, but I never really had an opportunity to do a whole lot of bumper cars. That would have been more fun than trying to not bump.
I imagine that amusement parks weren't as big of a thing in your childhood as they were in mine.
Yeah, well, we had the fairs, and we had all the same fairs, but bumper cars are a pretty big operation.
Right.
You didn't get bumper cars till you had a big circus or something, or
Right.
something special.
Did
So
King's Dominion or Busch Gardens exist when you were growing up?
it started when I was in high school. Yeah, I went to Randolph-Macon, so we're not far from King's Dominion.
Wow.
So I was there a few times for different things. No, I'm not much with that type of stuff.
Right.
Do you remember when the circus used to come out there at the mall? They'd have all the rides.
Oh,
set
yeah,
up at
the carnival.
Yeah, that was
I get
always.
so excited when they're setting that up. Oh
Did
my
they have
gosh.
bumper cars there?
I know they had They had, I think the ones you sit in and where you just spin. They put you on a chain and spin you around. I don't know what that's even called. But they had a Ferris wheel and.
I don't know. I had a incident where I was early on, like 7th grade or something, where I went down to the same, where we have all the fair, but I was just going, walking around and checking everything out, and it was a tilt-a-whirl. Remember that one? And it would fling these people.
Scrambler.
And they had these 3 high school girls were in this one, and I thought that was, it was pretty remarkable. They were screaming and giggling, and their petticoats were showing. It was just as exciting as it could be. And all of a sudden, one of them just came around, and they came back toward me, and one of them started throwing up.
Oh.
And it gave you that long-term, ooh. And, women have never really been the same. So I just don't look at them the same way anymore. It just took something right out of me.
It didn't get on you, did it?
No, but it affected my brain forever.
Changed forever.
It changed me forever.
Are you a rides guy?
Oh yeah, I love rides. Yeah.
The scarier the better. The bigger the roller coaster, the better.
If I'm moving, I like it. Like the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel's not really scary, but we went in New Jersey
it can
one
be
time.
if you're at the very top.
Yeah, they stopped us up there.
It's stopping when
and I was
they
like, man, get
that's
this thing moving.
Yeah, let's get it going.
Yeah, I want to get back
keep
there.
moving, keep it
Yeah.
moving, keep it moving.
As long as they're stopped, there might be something wrong with it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you got the jokers that are rocking it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're like, oh, you're going to take us all out with you.
There's something on YouTube where a guy, it's like one of those rides where you just, like you're strapped in a seat and you just drop like real fast.
Oh yeah.
And there's something on YouTube where the guy, before he does it, he goes, oh my God, there's something wrong, the chain. And he hits the thing, and the people are like, oh, and they just take off, like scares the crap
Oh
out
right.
of them.
There's a whole montage of that guy. He's the ride operator, and it's this thing where you just like free fall drop, and his whole gimmick is right before he hits the lever to drop him, he's like, oh wait a second, you didn't. he scares the crap out of him right out of the gate. Oh, you haven't fastened your.
Wait! Something's loose up
something's
there.
loose. There's a bolt loose.
and the people are like looking
it
around.
seems like you could be sued for this. I mean, that's actionable. I would think.
the people are like freaking out. Like,
They really are. I really feel like when I watched that, I was like, that can't be allowed. On the other hand, it's so great. Like it's a tough one. There's some ethics at play in there. Like, I guess it's okay because you're on there in the first place to.
Well, it also must be a short ride because it must be over. Because if he said that like on like a 2-minute roller coaster, you would be petrified for the whole 2 minutes, waiting for what's going to happen.
That guy just said we're not really strapped in here right. Should we cut the fan off, or can you not tell? Not matter.
You can hear it, but it's just
Soothing.
I think it's fine.
King's Dominion.
No, did you have a King's Dominion or Busch Gardens preference?
King's Dominion.
King's Dominion.
It's more ride oriented.
Yeah.
I felt like the Busch Gardens was more for the grown ups.
Yeah.
But yeah. You ever been on the one that it's a circle and you're up against the wall and it starts spinning and the centrifugal force sticks you to the wall and the floor drops out?
I didn't like that one. I used to watch that one. I don't think I ever rode that one.
Yeah,
I didn't see any advantage to be.
That might have been the last ride I've ever been on. Me and a friend went to right before I left New Jersey. We went to New Jersey has like the shore. They had these little little amusement park type things, and we had a bunch of drinks and some crabs, and then went down that thing. And like,
Oh, man.
we're like the only 2 people in there. Like the guy's like, how long you want to ride? Like,
God, it's been a long time since I've been on anything like that. It's funny because it's I'm a little bit like that in the sense that I'm not an adrenaline junkie.
Right.
But at the same time, I like to poke the bruise, see if how much it hurts.
Right.
Because I just will get legit scared, and then I live, and then I feel I got the adrenaline rush, and I feel pretty good. Like it's sort of a coward's way, or I don't know how to describe it. Like you wouldn't catch me necessarily like let's go parachuting or something like that.
Yeah,
But it's a way of dipping my foot into the deep end of risk taking, and stuff like that, and live to tell it. I do really enjoy rides. It's been a long time since I've been on one. We just what did you do for the 4th?
I just had some friends over. We just hung out. We went to the big Verona flea market, and
Oh, isn't that amazing?
luckily I was not by myself. They talked me out of buying a bunch of stuff I didn't need.
Let's talk about the Verona flea market for a second.
Oh,
This thing
God.
is unbelievable.
It's if their ad is correct, it's the biggest indoor flea market in the United States.
It feels like it.
It's crazy.
I'd say there's 5, 6 football fields
Oh yeah.
of space in there, just endless. I feel like we were in there for an hour or two and didn't see all of it.
No, you can't see it all.
It's extraordinary. Have you been in there in a while?
Not in a long time. I used to go pretty regular, but I haven't been there in years.
They still have a lot of baseball cards and records and a lot of old familiar fun things to look at.
I bought this old game. It's in a box. It's maybe twice as big as my phone. And on the picture of it, it's called Feed the Prophet. And the picture is like this old, I guess the prophet sitting on a shore and a seagull's coming towards him. I was like, what is this? Feed the prophet. So I opened it up, and it's like a game for like simpletons or when you're stoned or something. It's like it's like a little card, but just a little bit bigger than this. And the prophets, it's like just a drawing of a prophet, and there's a seagull, and there's like 6.
Like a religious prophet?
I can't tell. It's like the weirdest thing. He's got like a robe on and a long
right.
beard, and then but he's sitting on this shore it's this hand drawn thing, and there's a seagull in this corner, and he's in this corner, and there's 6 little spots to get to him, and it comes with like one of those little spinner things, and you just have to move 6 spots to get him to feed the prophet. My friend's like, "What are you buying that piece of crap for?" I was like, "Because I can't figure out what it is and why would anybody make this?" Like, I rolled a 6, 1, 2, 3, I win. It's like the weirdest thing. It's in perfect shape.
Just one person can play it?
No, it's got like 6 cards in there. So I guess you're racing to feed the prophet. I don't. But even the bags that have been opened, it's got like little colored things you move around.
Did it look like it was handmade or?
It looked like it probably
mass-produced?
No, it's so. I mean, it's one of those things I buy. It's like it's an art piece almost. I'll never play it, but I'll just put it up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like somebody probably had the idea, like some monk somewhere. Like, we got to break up the boredom here. And then his brother came and said, "Man, I can sell that in the real world." The monk is like, "I made enough money to get an apartment on 82nd Avenue yet?" "Not yet. We haven't sold too many of them." I think I paid. It was 20% off, so it was like 5 something. So I got it for like 4.
20% off.
Everything was like 20% off out there for some reason. But then they had a big lunchbox that looked like a German keg. And I was like, "Oh man, I want that." My friend's like, "Where are you gonna carry that?"
Like a wooden barrel kind of thing?
Well, it was made like a lunchbox, but it looked like a like a beer thing, and it was all written in German. And I was like, God, I had that in my hand. They're like, "Do you really want that?" I'm like,
They were talking you
I
out of
really do
everything.
want it. Do you need it? No, I don't need it.
Sounds like you went with good people.
Yeah.
Your thing's falling over to the side there.
My friend wanted to get Hawaiian postcards. They didn't have any.
Margie says you better hide that game from Gabe.
I don't even know where I put it.
Did you make it down to the park at all on the 4th?
That was the weirdest thing. I got up and I felt pretty good, and I walked all the way to the park, and I got there at 7:15, and I sat down in the chair and watched the runners go by.
Oh,
They
were
have
doing
the
some kind of
5.
race
They
or
have a
something?
5K at 7:30, and I used to have friends that would run in, and I probably had some this time, but I didn't know them. I didn't know I had. I'm sure Eric Pritchett was there, but I just saw the runners go by and waved at them, and was happy that they were feeling good enough to do that, and then I made it home. I didn't go back for the parade. I didn't go down to any of the music, and I was just sat at home the rest of the day and had a wonderful day. People walking by and
It was hot out there too.
yeah, and I just was comfortable. But I figured once I'd walked down there, I guess maybe to myself I proved I could do it, so I didn't have to do it again.
Right. That's a long wait though till the parade, right? That would have been a couple
I
hours.
I couldn't do that. I didn't. I just didn't have it to walk back, and I didn't want to carry a chair down either. So I watched everybody else carry their chairs down, and that was fun. But it was nice.
Did they have like a carnival of any sort at the
Yeah, they had a little
rides?
I'm not sure what all they had it for rides. I think they had minor league, like kindergarten type rides,
Right.
more the small fry
Right.
youngins instead of not
Right.
old high school kids trying to look up girls' dresses, people like that.
My mom goes to the park, and her and two friends walk around the park twice. That's like what they, their exercise thing. And so they were wondering how long a 5K was. And it was like 2.1 miles or something, which is basically 2 times around the park. So they're going to enter the 5K race next year.
They've been training all these years, didn't realize it.
And I was like, "You're going to run?" She said, "We're just going to walk our normal speed, but we're going to say we did the race because they get like a number and all that stuff."
Yeah, a lot of people will go and walk it, or some people will take their babies and roll around it. You get all kinds, and some people will walk it. You get everything there, but I'm proud of every one of them. They got up and are still doing it.
I remember, I'm sure we've talked about it before, but here in Stanton, for all my youth growing up, the 4th of July was the biggest celebration.
Oh, yeah.
The population of the town of 25,000 would quadruple for that weekend. It would be 100,000 people in Stanton, all because the Statler brothers are from Stanton, and they would do a 4th of July celebration. And it was a free concert every 4th of July, and they would bring in a famous guest celebrity country singer. Who were some of the big ones they had? Johnny Cash was here once.
Johnny
right?
Cash was here. You won't get any bigger than
Reba
that.
McEntire was here. I remember Jerry Reed was here.
Yeah,
That was
I
right at the
remember
height
that
of
one.
Smokey and the Bandit fame and everything.
Yeah,
So he was a movie star as well.
they were getting the big names.
Wasn't like Freddie Fender? Didn't he do it one
Freddie
time?
was here.
Yeah.
Conway Twitty.
Oh, yeah.
Daggone.
Couldn't beat that.
Good times. So ever since they stopped doing that, Stanton's been trying to find its 4th of July soul again, trying to figure out how to live up to that, because that was quite a thing. It was
From all the reports I got, this one was a great one.
oh good.
It was.
They're starting to
not
bring it back.
too-
They just didn't do anything for a while.
I think the boy, Will and Langdon have got it. They're figuring it out.
So there was a music.
They definitely had a
Yeah,
music
music
thing.
all day,
There was
yeah.
music there all day, but they had the Will and Langdon's group came on at like 7:30, and then they had Gene Watson was their guest. Gene's an older country singer.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, check him out. He can do a country song as good as anybody. I don't know him that well, but I listened to him too. But I don't know how many originals he's got, but I heard him do a couple covers, and he's good and well known in Nashville. So I'm sure it was a good show. But everybody said it was just a real good, good crowd. Fireworks were great. Everything went off well, and was real tickled that everything sounded good.
I was thinking about you when I was down there, because there was a guy walking around. Well, I first saw him, I was driving. He was walking in front of Old Lehigh. It was a guy dressed as Spider-Man.
Now we got to talk about this.
And the cars would go by and kids would
Have you
scream
heard about this?
and people would honk.
saw the
and he was
pictures.
doing, but all I could think about was you and you dressed in that spider. I was like, damn, Mr. Moore is out walking around
Stealing
in the
Dad's
park.
thunder. There's a new legend.
He was a skinny young guy, evidently.
he looked like
He looked like
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
He's become famous.
Oh, he
does it all the time?
For the last few weeks, like it started with a couple of sightings, and then people are on Facebook going, I heard could someone tell me where Spidey's going to be again? Because my kids have to see this. So I think it's a young guy. I'm not sure I think it's a young guy doing it. but now he has a Facebook page on and everything, and like he's been out every day. Like,
Evidently.
it's
the cars are going by and he dropped down and did like a Spider-Man pose.
People are trying to get pictures
But
of
he-
him.
but he was sitting-
Let us know where he's gonna. If people are sharing their sightings of him on Facebook, he's down on Beverly right now. And great, we're gonna go try to find him. And he's just loving it. He's living the dream.
Oh,
He's
my
like really
God.
stirred the whole city up. He's got people clamoring
Yeah,
about
that's
him.
funny.
It's so funny because, you know, Dad used to have a full-on Spider-Man outfit, and he would be out there doing exactly what this guy's doing. And I've told this story before, haven't I?
Yeah, but it's worth a second.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. That's funny.
Long story short, I borrowed Dad's Spider-Man outfit and tried to freak out everybody at my birthday party. And I thought my life was about to unfold like this young man's life. And local hero, like, oh my gosh, who is this masked man? I just wanted to say thanks. Holy moly, I just thought, you know, the whole town will be wondering, oh, where's Spider-Man now? And I ran down the alley behind my birthday party. They're going to see Spider-Man. They're going to freak out. They're going to be amazed they saw Spider-Man. They took one look at me and they're like, get him! Chased me down, pulled my mask off.
Put you in a sleeper hold. We've unmasked him now. He's tapping out.
But I watched this kid out there just like living the dream. That's exactly what I thought was
Yeah.
going to happen to my life when I first put on my Spider-Man costume. But I don't know. We lived in a different time back then. Although I think Dad had some great success with his couple
Didn't the
outings.
police spotlight you one time? Wasn't that a
Yeah, until I met the police department. They shined their light on me way too long.
That was the grown-up version of what I experienced.
Yeah, it was like, who do you think you are?
The world used to be a lot harsher for people pretending to be Spider-Man. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, it wasn't as easy to pull off,
Yeah.
evidently.
Kids these days
But-
don't know how good
But
they
I
have
got
it.
to admit, I don't think either one of us have a Spider-Man body type.
Right.
Whereas that young man,
Yeah,
he
he
looked
really
like
looked like
Spider.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We were obvious imposters.
I saw a picture on Facebook where some woman was helping him with his foot. Did you see that?
Right, even heroes need a helping
Right,
hand.
right. Yeah, I think he's got good timing. I think he
Oh,
knows.
see, I didn't hear. I just thought it was like a 4th of July thing. That's the only day I saw him.
he's been happening for a few weeks now.
Oh, I
He
thought.
just showed up downtown one day, and then someone took a picture. And like, I just saw Spider-Man downtown, and then a couple days later, someone was like, I just saw Spider-Man, and then it started happening.
Oh,
Well,
my
where's he going to
God.
be next? My kids would love to see Spider-Man. And then a few days later, they're like, he has a Facebook page now. He's just blowing up. Everybody's wondering where the next
Well, it would
sighting
be-
is. He's got a schedule.
Remember that apartment Karen had up on the?
Mm-hmm.
That'd been perfect for
Oh, that
him
would
to
have been
stand
perfect.
up there and look down.
Yep.
The whole city would be looking up at Spider-Man.
So is Stan gonna get like the Hollywood now? We have all the characters, or like Central. What is it? What's the Times Square up in New York? Where we have all the characters wandering around.
Yeah, all right.
Ragged outfits. And stuff.
Right. Yep.
There's 2 Spider-Men fighting downtown. We gotta go see what's going on. This is my spot.
Turf wars.
Turf wars. We should dust off your old Spider-Man outfit and give him a run for his money.
I'm
We have even less
I'm
the bodies
wondering
for
if he-
Spider-Man now.
I wonder if he's legal.
What he doesn't have the permit, the superhero
Well,
permit?
the mask idea.
All right.
Remember, we kind
yeah.
of forgot
Well,
about
COVID
that.
changed all those rules.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Have we gone back to anything, or is he legal?
Where did you find a Spider-Man outfit back then before there was like Amazon? and
Where
the
did I
internet?
get one? I have no idea.
A friend of yours made it.
It was
Oh.
for somebody else, and they left it with me, and I started wearing it.
I'll tell you.
That's what you do. It's only leave.
I'll tell you what it was. It was long johns, first of all, like white long johns dyed blue,
Yeah.
and then big red socks with black webbing drawn
okay.
on it. So, like this guy has a legit Spider-Man outfit.
Yeah, this
but
was-
when I was a child, like nothing.
Oh my gosh, my Spider-Man's homeless.
When Dad
Look
put
at
on
him
this
over there.
Spider-Man outfit for me, I was completely enthralled. It was 100% Spider-Man. I didn't see the Long John's aspect. I didn't notice it was socks. It was just Spider-Man.
With a white Russian in his name.
And a fishing pole. Spider-Man needs to rest, kids. Come on.
Spider-Man. Where are you coming from, Spider-Man? Man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those were good.
Oh,
old
that's
days.
cool. Look, so we got a local Spider-Man.
We got a local Spider-Man. It's the whole thing.
So is the paper getting? I mean, we should have him come on and give his first interview on Jabber
oh, man.
Jawn.
That would be
Spider-Man, if you're watching, you got
special
to.
guest.
We'll let you sit.
Hey, John Huggins. Good to see you.
Oh, wait a minute. We don't want to have Spider-Man on here unless he stays in character.
Yeah.
Right.
We're
yeah.
not going to let him come on here and be a real person.
No. They would have because we don't want to know.
we
who
don't
he
do
we
is.
it
don't want
exact-
to. We don't want to know the real
No, we
person.
don't know.
Right.
who he
Let's
is.
make that perfectly
Do
clear.
y'all remember the Spider-Man from Electric Company?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Uh-huh.
It was all thought bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
remember, yeah.
Cather would be working overtime for that show, but we could do the Electric Company model where we just ask him questions and he just sort of tilts his head and a thought bubble pops up over his head
Now that's-
with his response.
That would be fun.
He gets to preserve his mystery. I don't think anybody wants to hear this voice. I feel like it would. I mean, I'm just assuming that I don't know. Peter Parker's a young character.
I don't know. But
Maybe it wouldn't
But
dispel
everybody
the-
is a little bit curious about who he is
Oh yeah.
right now.
That's the beauty of it.
That is the beauty of it.
So I don't know if he can maintain.
He's living the dream.
There's a TV channel called Vice. It used to be like a magazine. Vice shows like all kinds of weird stuff. But they have this thing like the dirty history of wrestling or something.
Oh wow.
And every once in a while I'll watch it. And these guys, like when we were talking about wrestling, it'd be like, Ricky Steamboat was always Ricky Steamboat. That's just who he was.
Right.
But supposedly these guys just moving around, like back before it was, the big thing that it is now. They would be like wrestling in Oregon. They'd be like, Ricky Longbow or something. They'd move to North Carolina, Ricky Steamboat. And these guys then they would get older and they'd wear a mask. They were just like, these guys would just be different wrestlers. So when they would go back to Oregon, they had to go back to their other name. It's like, man, they were like, just
Big character.
like, yeah,
They're playing different
actors like on
characters.
tour, just like different places they go, they were
Sure.
a different name.
They definitely probably considered themselves actors.
Oh, yeah.
It was always a really big deal if someone was going to get demasked.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And like they'd almost get it off or whatever.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you're like, oh, we almost found out who it was.
Do you remember Tim Woods? He was like the good guy who just wore white shorts. It's like just like the most he had
I don't remember him.
he was just like a good guy, just boring. But then like, some reason he turned bad. So he came out, he wore a mask. Even though you knew it was him, he just decided to wear a mask. And me and my brother thought that was like the funniest thing. It was the same thing, trying to unmask, like, who it is. It's, Tim Woods, right? And he's like, trying to keep the mask on. But I felt bad because the reason I watched it was just when this guy called Doink the Clown. Did you ever heard of
Doink.
him? Doink the Clown. And one time, probably like in the early 2000s, me and my ex-wife were out at her mother's house, and like some high school gym was having like a wrestling thing. And we're like, oh man, we should just go see this local wrestling thing. And her mom was like a really good artist, so she was sketching them and all this stuff. But they introduced Doink the Clown, and we just busted out laughing, like, what it was the stupidest name. So then watching this thing, he was like a really great wrestler. Well, he would have been champ and stuff as another, like under his name, Nathan Moore, the wrestler. Then as he got older, he wanted to keep wrestling, so they made him into Doink the Clown. But then he got so bad, they made up another Doink, since it was a mask, So I was like, man, were we laughing at some guy that was like, at one time like a really good wrestler? Now we're all in this little gym, Doink the Clown. I feel like I hurt his feelings.
I bet.
It made me feel bad.
They'd been hurt a long time ago.
But I've got an autographed picture of him.
as
Oh,
Dwight.
you did?
Yeah.
You still have it?
Yeah, I actually have it framed. I forgot I even had it because we just went down there like for $5. All the wrestlers were sitting there. You know, they had to get their, crack money or whatever they were doing back then. Dwight the Clown. So that brings us. We should talk about you being recognized when you're walking around Stanton for your Jabber John.
Yeah, we talked about
You have
that.
to sign, not on the show though.
On the show, we didn't talk about it.
Well,
Do you have to sign an autograph or anything?
I did not, and I was down at the
The Art
Art
Hive.
Hive, which is in my neighborhood, and I think they're going to be wonderful neighbors. They welcomed me. They knew who I was, and obviously you had some connection, or somebody did, but they recognized Jabber John.
Right.
and
So
knew-
tell me a little bit about their operation there. I'm still trying to get my brain around it.
I don't know. That's a good question. Let me work on that a little bit. But they're going to do workshops. They're going to resell, kind of like recycle art supplies. So if you have a child, it's a perfect place to bring them to learn.
Ah.
They'll have classes, and then they have like displays, and there'll be stuff for sale, people's work and different things. So I and the facility, it's a big place. We could do I was thinking
a
we
great
could
space.
do a show there.
Yeah.
Ooh, on remote shows.
Yeah.
That's an interesting possibility.
Yeah, there's that, plus just the idea of I'm thinking of maybe just doing a little music show. You used to play music.
I used to play music.
You could play some songs. I know a guy that's written some. I'll give you some. You could learn them and
Yeah.
sing them. But stuff like, I think there's the possibilities go on and on and on. But I think what they're going to do is give us a Jabber John area to sell Jabber John products,
Oh, Jabber John products.
which would include any products we have.
We don't have any yet,
Your
but
books.
our thinking caps
you
are
have
on.
stuff, and I have stuff, and you have stuff.
It's true.
But we don't have Jabber John stuff. But
Which brings us to the idea Dad proposed right before we went live, is that we're going to have a contest for a Jabber John t-shirt design.
Yep.
So anybody listening out there, Jabber John t-shirt design. The contest starts now, ends at the
Ends at 8:30. So
ends at 8:30.
And it's $500,000.
$500,000 to the
Well, no,
winner.
it wasn't 500,000.
No, it's 50 cents. No, wait, $5. $25.
$25.
Right, that's what it was.
and a free shirt.
Right.
Exactly.
I like
And
this.
an autograph free shirt.
Oh man, you're like.
They're really going to go high.
But something I think the Art Hive, their thing is that you can pay I think it's $15 a month, and then you come in and you can just use all the supplies you want and do
it's
whatever
sort of
you
like
want.
the place where you can go use their power tools,
Right.
3D printers and
Right.
stuff, like a
Right.
community. That's fun.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of.
What a nice addition to the neighborhood there.
It's wonderful.
sweet.
Yeah.
And I guess the cooking stuff's the ovens and stuff. So they're gonna have cooking classes.
Yeah, they can do that.
Yeah.
They could do all kinds of things. I mean, you could do a workshop, a songwriting workshop would be a nice idea too. There's lots of possibilities of Jabber John enter into a working relationship with these people. They're real nice people.
It'd be fun to get back out into the community a little bit.
Yeah, I think we should try to do what we can do to help out, and just put them at the top of the list of our advertising at this point. Free advertising.
All right, well, let me propose a philosophical question in line with this train of thought. What do you think makes something art?
Wow.
That's a good question. I have thought about that a lot myself. I think you can't go too far till you use the word creative. Something that you have put together from different parts or something that has formulated in you, and you look at it or you see it or you portray it in a different way, and it has a special meaning to you because of
To the creator.
And how he does it. And so you might have an art form that other people don't recognize, which is very common. You know, people do stuff all the time that
Would you make a distinction if you saw two paintings side by side? Is it possible that one is art and one is not?
I think then you talk about the level of quality of in other words, if what would make one of them, although it looked just as good, not as good as if you felt like that person was copying it or just reproducing it as opposed to creating it. So if you had two that looked alike, but one of them was created and the other one was reproduced from that one,
Right.
one would be more artistic. The other one's an art too.
Right.
So I mean, art is like a way of describing an approach to something. When I say Rod Carew was an artist with a baseball bat,
Right.
he used, he wasn't just swinging and hitting the ball. He had something special going on that was magic, to the point where
That's interesting.
where it became an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas,
Talk a little bit more about that. What would make one athlete seem you would attribute an artist to their athletic ability?
Again, it goes back to creativity and being able to do things at a high level, a high skill level, but also a level that other people can't even fathom or see. That it comes easy for them in some way. But not necessarily does it have to come easy, but if it comes at all, and it's different, the difference is a part of it too. And I think about that a lot with the songs and music in general. There's only so many notes. Everything's been played. When I think about my writing, I'm reproducing some things I wrote 20 years ago very well right now. But on the other hand, it's impossible almost to write something that's never been written until you put a few sentences together. But whether you're copying it or not, the art comes when it's not being copied but being created. That's just off the top of my head. I don't know.
What's your off the top of the head answer? What makes something art?
Gosh, I think art just a lot to me, just the eye of the viewer. Like that stupid Feed the Prophet. Like it's a game, but I just thought it was a piece of artwork almost. And then they have like these artists, that passed away. They never sold but one painting. Now their stuff's selling for millions of dollars. Or these blues musicians or something never sold it. They rediscovered when they're 79 years old and they drag them around on tour. And now everybody's like a genius of his time. He's a genius now. He wasn't a genius of his time. Nobody cared about him back then.
Right. Van Gogh's a classic example of no one took him seriously while he was around. He's one of the most revered.
I was just reading this. I don't know if you've probably heard of it. The Black Mountain School that was in North Carolina, like a lot of artists and stuff went down there back in the 50s or 60s. But John Cage went there. The weird. He was like he did that recording Silence, and then everything was measured out. The guy opened the piano case and closed it and everything. But
like the Andy Warhol.
Yeah,
music.
but he would have like shows out at on the docks where you just sat there and listened to boats pass each other and stuff. But he said he got all that idea because when he was going to Black Mountain School, I can't think of the artist's name now, but he just done paintings of like just really reflective white. So when you look, like, they would just show shadows and stuff, and but he had them hanging from the ceiling in the cafeteria at the school. And Cage thought, man, this is really what art is. Like when you just have a blank canvas and you see what you want to see. And like, so if you go to one of his performances, you hear, like he said, when they did 3 minutes of silence, it wasn't really silent because you heard people rustling in their chair, and you heard that somebody opening the door and get up to go to the bathroom or whatever. So it's like really like just the white paintings hanging up there weren't really. Most people wouldn't even, you would just think, why is those sheets hanging up there or something? But the way you see something, really has a way to do with it too.
Mm-hmm. Quick sidebar. Hey, Danny. Good to see you.
So what's your?
I don't know. I'm thinking as I'm I guess one thing I would add to it is sometimes I think about how I think, like my short answer would be art is what an artist makes. And I like the idea that an artist is, and maybe not as a rule, but an artist is a personality type, like someone who's born an artist. It's a curse and a blessing. It's a curse as much as a blessing.
Right.
Like they are inspired to do what they do, and it's almost beyond their control. Like they have to do what they're doing because of who they are, because they are an artist. Right. And I think that that's something that we don't necessarily appreciate as a society.
Right.
Just what an artist goes through, what an artist might endure, or
right.
Like I feel like we don't necessarily know how to respect that or something. Like it's not, and especially when you get into like, well, that could anything could be art,
Right.
Anything could be art, which I could be convinced of that
right.
too. But I think it's also a healthy thing to have respect and give love to the artists in the world that are bearing this burden of inspiration that sets them free and also oppresses them their entire life, because they are unique souls that can't help themselves to a certain extent. And so in that sense, I feel like if you had 10 paintings and only one was made by what I'm calling an artist, I don't know if I could tell the difference necessarily.
Right.
But I feel like, I don't know. That's just where I would start the conversation. It's not a conviction. Right. It's just sort of a thought or perspective.
What's weird, last summer, this guy I've been writing to from like back bold print days, I'd never met the guy. I didn't know who he was really or anything, but he wanted to come visit. And he said, my friend's going to bring me. So he came as like an older dude. He's like 80 years old. But he's had like his newspapers in New Orleans back in the 60s, knew like all the hippies, all the bands. He knew everybody, just he was telling me stories. And I was just like, oh my God. So we're sitting in the kitchen. My kitchen has artwork all over it. And he just points at one of the pictures and said, I really like that one. Who did it? And my 6-year-old niece had done it.
Right.
It was just like these round heads with like little stick bodies, and it said love at the bottom, and she had colored it in. And the one, everything in there, he said, I like that one.
Right.
And it's like, what attracts, what.
That was the first thing I thought of as like an argument towards what I was thinking is like, can a child make art? Well, obviously, yes, they can. They all do.
Right.
And
maybe art is like what speaks to you, what catches your eye.
Well, yeah, I think there's no doubt that some people are very artistic that I don't recognize.
Right. Right.
I mean, I'm very limited in what I can figure out. So that's definitely true. But I hear a lot of what both of you are saying about artists.
But to make a living as an artist must be, that's a rough thing to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the whole gambit, I mean, it's no harder than the music business. It's a form of the same thing.
Well, I was
you're
sort of
trying to
including,
get
I was
other
including
people
them
to
in the artist
appreciate
thing. Yeah.
something you're doing because you love, but getting other people to see what you're seeing when you make a song or perform or draw a picture, that's a whole different ball game. I mean, there are some people that are just like technical artists, like the guy that wrote this Sibley. These pictures are his.
Oh, he draws the pictures.
He draws these.
Wow.
So he's an artist,
I see.
and so, but it's painstaking, and he would hate to get a feather out of place or out of color. You know, it would be horrible. But is it his art form, or is the knowledge and the background? I don't know.
It's almost an archetypal thing throughout history, the artist that was driven mad by their inspiration or by their relationship with society or whatever it was. But there was, we watched them descend into like the depths of madness because of their gifts, their inspiration.
And the other side of that coin is our society depends on the artists to save us too.
Mm-hmm.
To pull us out of bad routines and zombie-like behavior,
Right.
to see things differently.
To what was that quote you read to me last time I was visiting? To delight us back to our senses.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
To delight you back to your senses. No other purpose.
Right. They play such an important role.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, but art.
That is, it's such a weird, and when you say, that's like a term everybody knows, but who can explain what art is?
I mean, think about how heartbreaking it is, that story you just told about the artist friend that's visiting, and the 6-year-old's drawing is the one that's really and you got people like Van Gogh who went mad because of the inspiration, the visions, learning the technique, the years. You can tell by their stroke the genius. The people that can break it down, people that understand music theory like inside and out in ways they were born with the knowledge. Like God struck them on the head with a magic wand and said, carry this burden, inspire the world. Like there's all that inspiration and madness and stuff, but at the same time, that painting by the 6-year-old, that's just as true.
Or maybe it's like the any type of energy. Like some people like maybe just that pure simple line drawings. Or just like look at that. That's just so simple and so. But I mean, like you said, there's other people. I mean, we all know. All of us know like people that are just so talented that'll never be recognized. You're just like, you just want to go crazy. Like, God, how come people don't realize this is the best singer of all time?
Right.
I guess it's the time period you're in too. If like you're doing something different that, is not popular. I'm not really sure what was going on during Van Gogh's time, but maybe he was just so different it didn't fit into the, or Cézanne and all those. Then you get someone like Picasso, that somebody comes over and he signs up, draws us something on a tissue for him, a napkin, and that thing sells, like anything he does, he just doesn't even think about it. Here you go. Oh, it's,
Once you,
Yeah, that you just hit a nerve there about the other side of the coin of what we're talking about is. I don't consider Picasso worth a shit. I think he's a horrible artist.
Right.
What does that make me? That makes me an idiot.
Or
it makes me have an opinion that's my own.
Right.
But
There's nothing wrong with that.
In other words, you can look at a piece of art and see one thing, and I don't see it. And because I don't see it, it's not art to me.
Right. Course.
That's the way that works too. So.
But that's the thing. At least you've seen some Picasso. I bet you there's probably everybody you say who's Picasso, let's say an artist. How many people actually have really even viewed, spent any amount of time, looking at his art. People get so popular, you just know who they are, even though you.
I haven't spent a
wouldn't be
lot
able
of
to
time
identify.
looking at them because I always say that's a bunch of shit there.
I mean, but half the world you could say, all right, I'm gonna put 6 paintings up. You could put up something from Mad Magazine or Warhol, a blue, painting of blue and a Picasso, and they'd say, which one's Picasso? They would have no clue.
We would all know.
But I mean, you just get so famous, you're an artist, and you don't even.
Yeah, I'm not very, very good with artists either.
John Dotson in the chat says all artists are children. And did I say all children are artists? He might have been because that was the first thing I thought was the flip is true too. I might have already said that out loud. John says howdy directly to you. By
Hey,
the way.
John, how are you doing, buddy? I like John.
One of my favorite pieces of art, it was funny because I just showed it when my friends were visiting. I went to Chicago like 20 years ago. My wife said, you got to bring me back something from Chicago. I was like, all right, I'll bring you back something. Don't worry about it. So we go, my friend, we were just going to thrift stores in Chicago. And there's a, oh gosh, now I can't think of the name. What's that cat? There was like a cat cartoon. Oh,
Garfield.
Garfield. Yeah, it was like a plaster Garfield that some kid had just gotten paint, it was just blue and brown on top of each other. But they painted the whole thing like a 3-year-old kid did it. So I bought that for my wife, and I took it back. She was like, "This is what you got me from Chicago," and I was like, "For some reason, I just love this." And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is what you got me from Chicago." But now I have it when you walk in the house, it's like sitting up right when you walk in. And my friends were like, "What is this?" And I was like, "It's Garfield, like some kid painted." And they're like looking at it like, "Oh, okay." And they put it, but just the idea of like some parent giving that to a kid with like a big paintbrush. And they're just like, and the kid's like, I've done it. I've painted this Garfield. It just delights me that they've, it's just. That was, and the parent didn't like it either because they just took it to a thrift store. I remember looking at my wife's face. This is what you brought me from Chicago. I was like, oh my God, I messed up, didn't I?
Yeah. I mean, I can't. This the idea that you're in Chicago and you're saying, "Let's go to thrift stores." That's weird, right? I'm sorry. It's interesting. I'm not criticizing. It's just weird.
I know we went to thrift stores. We went to all the hot spots.
Here we are down in the Ukraine.
Oh,
Where is Kyle? Well, see that bomb, where that bomb is hit? Right beside it, there's this little thrift store. And I think he's over there.
This is Vice News reporting.
He'll be back soon. And I can't wait to see what he brings back.
I don't know what it is.
But and that's another piece. Some friends were over the same. I think this was some other friends. They came upstairs and they were like, "Oh my God, you even have these like quotes on the wall." And it was the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" thing, but it's written in magic marker, and the magic marker runs out. And I was walking home from work one day in Richmond and just found it on the sidewalk. But it's like it's I have a dream, but it's just the ink is faded like lighter
wow.
and lighter. And my friend's
like
like,
a work of
where'd you
art.
get that from?
Sounds like a work of art.
And I said, I found it on the street.
Wow. Do you still have that?
I haven't framed it in my
You haven't
bedroom.
framed it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Framed.
All right, so think of a friend. You don't have to say their name out loud, but think of a friend from your life that you would consider an artist, and tell us about them. Or can you not think of any? What are your thoughts on that reflection?
You told me a very good story when I was over there one night about the vase you have on your mantle.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. Kim Clanton. And he works with hot.
Oh, we lost the camera.
It's an internal temp,
Oh, it's too hot.
and it shut down.
Wow.
It just happened.
Hot show tonight.
It's a hot show tonight.
Yeah, baby.
Wow, that's interesting.
I
Yeah,
should
cut
not
the fan
have-
back on.
I should have changed my underwear.
They can still hear us.
Maybe I shouldn't have changed my underwear.
Well, this story doesn't need visuals. Oh, we're back.
We're back.
All right, so
Kim Clanton is an artist.
He is an artist. You say that with a.
And
Why,
not-
why do you say that without hesitation?
Because he makes stained glass vases. You know, he just does different things. But every time he goes in there, he's creating. And not only that, I know him personally, and I know that every moment of his life he's creating. He has
now we're talking.
he has a lot of ways of looking at things that are different that make him, in my mind, a classic artist. Which also means he doesn't fit in well in
Right.
society
Right.
in some ways, but wonderful human being and a great artist. And now the vase I have is one he gave me one night when we decided to be lifelong friends. We had both been out on the town, and we ended up hanging out, and he went upstairs and got that vase and gave it to me, and it's just a piece of artwork.
That's a beautiful story.
And and I always remember that. But when I look at it, it looks like a piece of art. I can tell that his creativity was working there. So that would be my answer.
That's a great
You gave
answer.
me a good answer. I was getting a little stuck here.
Do you have a friend that you would consider an artist?
my ex-wife was actually the best artist that I've ever just. I would have any idea, like for a magazine or something. I would say, I need a cover. I've just written this poem. I needed something. And I guess we just knew each other so much. She would just draw something or paint something. I'd be like, oh my God, did I paint that and not remember? You know, it was so much like on the total vibe. But she had like just, you know, thousands more talent than I could. I used, back in the old days, you'd make cassette tapes, you know. And I would say, I just made these tapes. She's like, what kind of music is it? And I'd tell her, and 30 minutes later, she'd come back with a little square piece of paper. And I'd like, oh my God, like it's like, it just blows your mind, you know.
Was she possessed by her creativity, or is she?
Probably at one point in her life, she would always be doing something, you know. We'd be watching TV, she'd be, you know, knitting something or, you know, drawing something. But, you know, she's just very, 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 in any, you know, any type of thing you want to do, you know. One time I was at work and I came home, this is when we lived in Richmond, and I came home and she had painted the kitchen and put wrestling stuff all around. Like she had on the shelf, on the cabinets, like there was wrestlers, old time wrestlers and stuff. And she had bought some wrestling mugs and stuff. I was like, where'd this come from? I just thought it would look cool in here. I was like, man, I'm like, oh, this is the best looking thing I've ever seen. And then at one of our apartments, she bought a stamp of like a running dog, like you can buy a stamp for you. She just did one whole wall just over and over and over those running dogs. And when we moved out, the landlord came and said, man, usually I repaint everything to make it look fresh. I'm just leaving that up there.
It's a work of art.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But living near VCU, you know, there's all kinds of, when I lived up there, you see, you know, just to use the word freaks in a good way, that just can create something, you know, you're just like, wow, how in the world did you do that? Like give them a magic marker on a piece of paper and they do something like you just hope you never lose it. You know, like I got to save this forever.
Right.
So how do you see yourself as an artist?
I don't know. I'm not sure I can.
Yeah.
It's so easier to think about other people. It's
Well, you
But it is definitely from my own spirit that led me to that answer to the question or whatever. In terms of it hit me one morning last week or something when I laid down to go to bed, and then all of a sudden lines to a song started coming to me, and I was like, oh God. So I like lean over and I like cut on my phone and I type out the lines and I put the phone away and I try to go back to sleep. Next verse starts happening. I'm like, oh, just leave me alone. I want to go to sleep right now. But then I realized within all that I didn't ask for that. That I wasn't trying to write a song.
Right.
I was trying to go to sleep. Next thing you know, it's 10 in the morning. I'm down here like trying to strum out some chords or something. And I just, at that moment, felt sort of at its mercy. And it sort of led me to that thought that artists might not choose it, but it's just who they are, for whatever reason.
But it's like from listening to you're blessed that that stuff comes out good. Like when I was doing my poetry magazine, now people that would send me poetry, it was so bad. I was like, man, that must be a terrible feeling. Like
they were probably trying to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Or they
weren't possessed by it.
Right.
They weren't at its mercy.
Right.
They were trying.
But some of them would really think. I've sent stuff to 10 magazines, and I was like, man, that stuff is it's not. But sometimes I put it in there just because you feel like you've sent. Or like, what if you just love to paint and every painting you do just looks like crap?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all you want to do, but you're like, that's me beeping. But it's like it's just, nobody likes it, even you don't like it. You're like, all I want to do is paint, but nothing comes out.
You gotta respect that to a certain extent.
I remember one time I was trying to do a painting. We would have like painting in our house and stuff when I was married. And one time we got these little canvases. I said, I'm gonna paint a picture of Michael Hurley. And my goal was like I just knew what I wanted it to look like.
picture of Michael Hurley.
Yeah, he's like a folk singer, and he's not like a folk singer. He is a folk singer. But I could visualize it, but I just didn't have the skills to do it. When it was done, everybody's like, "Oh, that looks nice." Like this is a piece of shit, But it's like, it's like when you don't have the ability to do what you. But I mean, that takes practice. If I would actually want to sit down and learn to paint, it'd be.
Art Hive.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
$15 a month. I can go down there and do all the Michael Hurley.
I'll try to become a painter with you.
Yeah, it'll get you both out of the house. And you won't be worth a shit.
Right.
It's all right. It's going to be fine. You'll be happy.
Now, do you think you can teach yourself to paint? Or you have to have somebody like say you're just...
I wrote a song about that. If I could learn to juggle, does that mean I could learn to paint? I don't even understand. Could I be something I ain't? But it's just such an interesting question, whether or not.
But it's
See,
also
my basic assertion here is that for the most part, you can't choose to be an artist.
right.
And now a lot of people do, and a lot of people get away with it. I think an artist is born an artist, and a lot of times it's against their will. They didn't choose it, and anybody that and maybe just to double down on the assertion, anybody that chooses to be that's where my own insecurity comes in, because a lot of times I do feel like, no, actually I did choose this, and that's why my art isn't real. That fraud thing that apparently, according to all artists, they can still hear us. Apparently it is really hot in the world at the moment, and the camera is overheating. Maybe we could put the fan on it, but did you cut it off there?
Does it come back on, or has it been off?
Well, once it cools down for a second. So welcome to the radio version of Jabber John, the podcast version.
I look a lot better, to tell you the truth.
Some people call this art.
But there is a growing, I don't know if y'all know, well, there's no reason you would, but I've been getting some calls. There is a growing wave out there of a cult of most of them are women that are fascinated with the sexiness of my legs. And so now they're not getting
Wow.
Right.
that,
Our rate,
which is probably just giving them a break.
Yeah.
viewers are clicking off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of
Well,
clicking off.
maybe that's a contender for our T-shirt.
Jabber Jawn.
Jabber John, just
They-
dad's legs.
Dad's
Jabber
legs.
Jawn. They've got legs.
Let's see if that works. See if it cooled down. Maybe we should move the fan over there. All right. Well, we're back for as long as it lasts. So,
But
go ahead.
But then you also meet people that are like, oh, you should come over and paint with us. I can't paint. I've never painted. Then they do something. You're like, it's just, they're not trying to do anything, but they free will, oh, I don't care about it. It looks better than everybody
Oh, there's
else.
something so. That's why your 6-year-old niece's
Yeah.
picture was the most
Yeah.
satisfying to your friend.
Yeah.
There's something pure about it.
Right.
Some of my favorite songs I ever heard were written by people that I wouldn't consider songwriters.
Right.
It always pissed me off. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could have that kind of purity, I'd be on my way.
Right.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't have to be a descent into madness.
Right.
Although I'll always find the old descent into madness a pretty cool thing. I romanticize that. I'm not even sure if people
Now-
are out. I'm not. That might be a thing of the past. The future might not even appreciate
That's
that.
what I was going to say. Now, it's like, you really, in the past, if you wanted to be an artist, you really had to hustle and scrap to get noticed. Now, anybody with a camera can get on YouTube and just post whatever they want.
Mhm.
I mean, you can basically make yourself a star just by no help in the world really
You
at
still
all.
gotta have something, right?
Yeah, but I see some stuff on YouTube that are just like, oh my God, how is this?
well, you could pretend you had your own TV show.
Well, speaking of art, Swaby just sent that into the chat. Holy
Ooh,
moly,
look at
Swaby!
that.
That's our first entry for our T-shirt.
Now you didn't tell us who you thought was an
Ooh.
artist. One of your friends is an artist?
I know a lot of them.
Ooh,
I'm sure we all do, but isn't that cool?
I love it. I'm a big fan. Now
Jabber John.
that is art right there. I
don't care who you are.
I don't care if that guy AI did it.
Right.
I like that.
Look at us.
Wow.
That is beautiful. That's going to be hard to beat.
That is cool. So is this one we're supposed to see either like 3 dogs looking at each other, or if you look at it another way, it's 3 people sitting there. I see the
If you
dogs
stare at it
now.
long enough,
I
a
see the
3D dog comes out and bites your face.
Well, you've seen those things on the internet, haven't you? Like if you see 2 women looking at
Oh,
each
show
other.
them. Oh, this is gonna be trippy, especially if it focuses.
I do like that. That's cool.
Oh no, it's not gonna focus. Oh, I hit the wrong button. It can't do it. We're not. Oh, it's trying. I just have to hop on our Discord server, then you can really see it.
That's very cool. So he just did that?
It must be like a screenshot with like a filter or something.
That's not one of those things where you paint a piece of paper black, then you just scratch off what you want to be the design.
It does look like that. Is that right? It's right now. Just matching what we're wearing.
Man.
I do think about like the.
Come on down and collect your $25 since you're the only one who's entered. So, well, it's a great, not only because of that, but it's a great design. But
Yeah, don't cut it off.
and he got an in by 8:30.
The contest
So
is not over. We've had one entry.
A classic version of like the you didn't choose it. It being sort of a blessing curse kind of thing is when you have like a gift, like if you're a prodigy,
Right.
like what. Not only is that just a fascinating, I'm endlessly fascinated by prodigies. I just think it's just such a fascinating thing that happens. Like suddenly this 8-year-old kid can play the piano
Right.
like nobody's business. Like what is, and then, but there's always that scene in the movie or whatever, God gave you this gift.
Right.
And it would be wrong of you to not share it
Right.
with the world.
Right.
And it's just an interesting idea. You didn't ask for that. And
So even though you're blind and crippled, get out there and play the piano. Oh, God bless me.
But there is that idea that like you've been given this gift and it would be wrong for you to not share it with the world.
But then how about like artists like Kurt Cobain, who seems like he probably at one point, not the happiest man in the world, but had a little band, happy making music. Then all of a sudden you're the biggest thing in the world and you just, the pressure to just outdo yourself every time just drives you to the point where you can't even deal with it anymore.
Right.
Like all I want to do is have some fun and go do a show. Now we're in front of 100,000 people, like, and I got to go back and write.
Now your
10
music
more
has
good
saved
songs.
people's
Yeah.
lives, and what are you going to do next? What's your next?
Yeah.
The success trajectory of all that, the expectations of society.
Yeah.
You come out with your one-hit wonder or your brilliant first novel.
Yeah.
And now the pressure's on as an artist. How are you going to top yourself or live up to that or maintain it?
You know, I went at it the other way around lately. I was doing some writing last week, and I was thinking the other way of people that have a gift but don't discover it until they're old.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens too.
Yeah.
What's the famous mother?
Oh yeah, the painter.
right.
What was her name? She's
Grandma Moses?
Grandma Moses.
Yeah. Who didn't start till. We
love that.
We might have this tremendous gift.
Bukowski was a late
Is that right?
late 30s or something before he started writing at all.
Yeah, and just to think that gift was sitting there, but you just never were around it.
I believe everybody has a gift.
I think so too.
But most people never discover it.
Yeah.
Well, I think nowadays nobody takes time. You're so busy doing everything else. Nobody takes time to nurture any. It's rare that you meet somebody that takes time to nurture some talent they have.
Mm-hmm. It does take time
yeah.
to really find out, I'm sure.
Everybody's just running ragged, just like, oh my God. And I can't, so many times we having drinks with somebody, I just wish I could spend time painting. They have these dreams of what they want to do, but they just, they're not going to be able to fit it into their day-to-day lives.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when you get older, you have, more time to, kids are gone, paid the house off, you don't got to work anymore.
Mm-hmm. So Scooby's in the chat here, and she says, when it's time for birds, I have a question for Mr. Moore.
Wow.
We found this nest on our porch in California and haven't been able to figure out what kind of bird egg this is. Thought he may know or be able to point us in the right direction.
You don't go.
There's even a ruler for scale in the photo. Nice touch.
He's lit his thinking pipe, so here he goes to look at it.
He's going in. He didn't ask for this gift.
He's the Beastie Boys egg man.
What I need to do is to see a parent. I need to talk to this egg's parents before we can
we have a few questions for the parents. Then maybe we can get to the bottom of this here
I
egg.
think we can handle it. But I don't.
There it is zoomed in.
I don't do eggs. I've never had that many egg encounters that it was worth learning. So I couldn't identify it.
It's a single egg.
It's a beautiful nest.
It is a
Wait a minute,
beautiful
so
nest.
it was
Well
on her porch, did she say?
You want to take a look at it? Have you tried the Google app? I wonder if that would.
I would.
Wow.
I'm sure there's an egg app out
The
there,
Google app will take a picture and tell you what it can about it.
and that's a very different looking egg. It's a beautiful.
Did you
egg.
hide a painted Easter egg in there and forget it was in there?
It could be one of your neighbors might be an artist. No telling. That's a pretty good segue into today's bird. What'd you bring us?
Oh,
But also this is another design for our T-shirt.
That's true.
Jabber
Second
Jawn.
entry. Jabber Jawn. Look at that.
Jammer John, we love the birds.
It's for the birds.
It's for the birds.
it's not just for the bird.
It could be a bird upside down, just flipping the bird. No rim shot and laughter for no. It's fine. It's fine.
All right, so what's the bird today? The unborn, the egg?
All right, we're going with the large woodpecker you see around.
Wow.
Oh, good.
I had an interesting thing here about the way I learned birds was to go to the library and get the big bird book out, and I'd go through, and then I'd imagine, and then I'd see the map of where they were. If we had them, I'd try to find them. But this was the most dominant bird when I grew up in Hillcrest. And
Oh, wow.
grew up in the oak woods.
The most dominant bird?
Dominant in terms of noticeable, and it's the largest woodpecker.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked it up, and it was the pileated woodpecker.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got to college, I was corrected by another person on a field trip one time, and they said, no, it's pileated.
The pileated.
It's the pileated woodpecker. Well, today, when I was reading it, they had the phone. I had a phone app there, and it told me. I was trying to figure out. I didn't know what pileated meant, so I looked that up. But it also had how you would say it, and I found out I was wrong both times. I was wrong with pileated, and I was wrong with pileated because the person on the thing that pronounced it correctly said pileated.
Pileated.
Wow.
Pileated evidently is, now that's according to that app, so
Right,
I don't
right.
know. But, I grew up very self-conscious about saying the words that I knew because I'd looked them up in the dictionary.
Right.
And I didn't know, with my southern accent, I sound dumb anyway. So it didn't,
Is that what it is?
part of it, just a part of it.
A sidebar. There was this guy I was listening to on YouTube for a while, and he when I first discovered him, he mispronounced a couple of words, and I was like, oh, my first impression was that he was ignorant. But then after watching him for a while, I was like, oh, this guy's only seen these words in books. He's very intelligent, but the reason he was saying them wrong is because he's just guessing how you say them because he's only seen them in
That's
print. He's
exactly-
never heard anyone say them out loud.
I was very self-conscious about that all the way through school, all until now. It really, I really identify with that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have anybody telling me what they sounded like. I had to sound them out myself.
Remember that if you hear someone mispronounce a word, it could be a sign of intelligence.
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about pet peeves and the god that we've made out of Alex Trebek, Alex used to piss the shit out of me because he was real good at correcting you every time you said something wrong.
Right.
Don't let the camera down now. Please keep filming.
Now, Ken Jennings does the same thing, but doesn't do it nearly. He doesn't do it with as much gusto as Alex. Alex enjoyed it.
I think what you're trying to say, Steve, is pileated.
Exactly. Yeah. Alex every once in a while would slip out where he was enjoying
Right.
because he was knocking you off your high horse, but he would just do it all the time, so it wasn't always personal. But I felt like some of it was just, but I hated that about him, that he would correct you, because it's rude.
Right, and you know he had handlers telling him the correct pronunciation
He'd
before
been
every
practicing
show.
all morning.
Right, exactly.
And that guy was just
He
coming
had a
off
cheat
of it.
sheet.
Yeah. And he was always right. You know, he wouldn't say it if he was guessing.
Right.
But I know Alex would explain it and just saying, we're responsible to the public. We
Right.
want them to know how
This
to
is an
save it.
educational program.
Exactly.
Right.
So he had his reason, but I saw him. But, so it has really nothing to do with pileated woodpeckers. But they're a magnificent bird.
How big we talking?
We're talking about the size of a crow.
Wow.
So we're talking about the bigger, not a, you know, herons and vultures are much bigger, or eagles, but of the other birds, the crow, and these are big wood. You've seen a big woodpecker. It was one of these, and my friend Rick Cook and I, when we grew up in Hillcrest, these were very common. And when I say common, there might have been 3 pair in the whole woods, but that was
They stuck out so prominently.
But they have a loud call, that the very distinctive call that they make, and we haven't showed them a picture yet. If they don't know what we're talking about, you need to.
Yeah, I was gonna
And that's not
play
the
the
best.
sound too off that app if I could.
That's not the best picture, but they'll know it if they know it.
Now, how much bigger are they than a regular woodpecker? Like twice or just a little
Twice, 2 or 3 times.
bit? Oh, wow.
Now, when you say regular woodpecker, you might be talking about, but you've seen them.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
talking about. They're much bigger. The flicker, for instance, that we talked about earlier, about half that size.
Oh, okay.
Blue jays about a third.
I gave you
Oh, wow.
They're much bigger. Show them that picture the way that tongue wraps around the head too.
I gotta. Oh, whoa! Can they see that? I don't know why it's not focusing.
So they have this, you know, large beak that's a
It's
jackhammer,
blurry.
but it's like a
They
chip.
couldn't quite see it, but the tongue wraps all the way around inside the head.
Yeah, and they can shoot out. So when they open up their mouth, their tongue's like a snake. It can go out and crawl around, has bristles on it, and they go into the tunnels, and their favorite thing to eat is ants. So they like to get into a nest of ants in a tree,
Wow.
and they'll just go in, that tongue will go in and suck up the eggs and all the ants, and that's what they do all day.
It's amazing.
Now, is a
So they
woodpecker...
bore a hole into the tree.
Yeah,
and then the
they
tongue
hammer.
goes in.
They can hammer a hole in a tree in the morning.
Is a woodpecker's beak any different than other birds, or is it just that they have the head action? That...
Well, they have a packed up head to support so they don't get a concussion.
But so it's more like their head's built. They don't have like a different type of beak.
Well, the
really.
beak is long and strong, and you know every beak's a little bit different. But theirs is meant to be. These guys' beaks are sharp and like a spike. They're like, you know, they're driving in there and chopping up big pieces of wood. So they're doing a lot of damage when they get on a tree. But they're usually going to be in a dead tree or a log looking for the ants. Is what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're anywhere there's woods on the East Coast, and then if you go up on the map, you don't see them in the Southwest because they don't have enough forest. But you'll see them up in Minnesota and all the way over to the Northwest, Oregon. They have them. It's all the same species. Pileated, the pileated woodpecker.
Now, like
Now, by the way, pileated, do you know what that means? It's Latin or Greek or whatever for the crest on their head. They have that
wow.
red crest. Pileated means crested.
Crested.
Yeah, that's talking about the fact. And the males and the females are pretty much the same. The males have more of a red stripe on the side, like this one.
That's the male.
They all
there.
have the red on the top, but the male has a little red bar on the side. Other than that, the males and females look the same and act the same. And
Now, if a woodpecker finds a good tree that's full of, it's getting all soft in the middle and there's ants, does other woodpeckers go to that tree?
yes and no, they don't want to really share that much usually. They don't call the others in or anything.
I found a good one.
The others might find some, but they'll stay there and eat the whole nest out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, of course, they'll come back later. But
Do they nest?
oh yeah, yeah, they have they build they make a nice big hole in a
Oh, they nest inside the tree
yeah, they nest inside the tree.
with a hole they made.
They crawl down in it and they nest in it. I was reading something, they were talking about how interesting it was how they sleep, because they don't just lay down in the side the hole. They actually attach with their claws and sit on the side. They climb up on the side of the inside of the hole and sleep that way. It's kind of weird how they do that. But they don't just lay down. They have that same swooping motion that the woodpeckers have. So if you see them swim, I mean, I have a pair that live on the other side of the river for years, and I'll hear them over there. And every once in a while they'll come over. And
Does something cause the swooping motion of their flight? Is it?
I think it's the shape of their tail and the feathers, and they flap a couple times and then they relax, and then so that's when they flap they go up, and when they relax they go down. So I think it's the size that they have, and also the shape of their tails. So some birds use their tails to fly, and they use their tail as a prop, like a lever in the back. They'll hold their butt up with it. They'll push that tail down so they can get a better chopping angle in. So that's some of the
Do
things.
they migrate?
No, they're here all year and trying to find anything they can find. They don't usually come to feeders. Some people can get them trained to come to the suet. They'll put out suet for them, and they'll come. But they don't like people.
They want to work for it.
Yeah, they don't like people that much. They're pretty off to themselves. But I was going to tell you a story about Rick Cook and I. We read an article when we were really young about the ivory-billed woodpecker, which is thought to be extinct. But the last ones were seen in the swamps of Louisiana, and there are people down there right now trying to find them. So there's probably the last 100 were killed by ornithologists.
You were trying to.
They were trying to save them, so they take one to the Smithsonian.
Right.
Well, that was the last one.
Right.
Sorry, you just killed the last one to preserve it. That's really cool.
Ivory-billed.
Ivory-billed woodpecker. It was a larger size, it was bigger.
Wow.
So Rick Cook and I thought we were always looking for the ivory-billed woodpecker.
Right.
We would say, I saw one. So like about 6 months ago, Rick came by the house and brought me an article from the Washington Post. They're still looking for him down there.
Wow.
They pretty much decided there's not any down there, but I think there's people making money selling maps
Right.
All right.
to the ivory-billed woodpecker house. We saw one. Well, I guarantee you. Elmer Gentry down there, he had one there. Yeah, he had a baby one. He saw a baby one. Yeah, we can get you a couple $100.
We'll get you out there.
We'll get you on out there.
Maybe that's what the egg is that they.
Well, you know what, Scooby? We're pretty sure what you have there is the last, maybe the only ivory-billed woodpecker egg we've ever seen. We got.
Keep an eye on it.
We're sending an ornithologist your way immediately.
Yes, he's taking the next plane out. which means he'll be there next Thursday.
If it hatches, clip its wings so it doesn't fly away, and bind its feet so you can keep it where it is.
Here's for the listeners there, the call of the pileated woodpecker.
Yep.
Sounds like
People
a
have heard
monkey.
that call and never see the woodpecker because he can hear it.
Wow.
Here's the drum. What would the drum be? Oh, that's what they call the sound the
Man.
woodpecker makes. The drum of the woodpecker.
We got your next backup band.
Yeah.
Play it as fast as you
Sample
can on the
that.
guitar.
Yeah, we got some ska action here. Chicken, 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 chicken. And the juvenile call.
I didn't hear that.
The pileated woodpecker.
Yep. Any other?
No, do you remember what it was that first got you interested in birds?
I think just looking out the window and nature in general. I like to see what was out there that was alive besides me.
So, like, were you into like plants and flowers and
No.
different trees and all that stuff too?
I was into animals. I was into living things
Right.
that crawled around and flew. So birds and mammals, and of course I liked fish.
Mm-hmm.
I was big into reptiles and amphibians. So but flowers.
No, just for the look of it, what's your favorite fish that you think just a beautiful fish? Or
Well, the brook trout's the most beautiful thing in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
A native brook trout is the prettiest thing that's ever been produced by the artistry of God.
That's exactly right.
He was having a good day that day. I think
Talk
he-
about someone that was possessed by inspiration.
Yeah.
God. He's got a story to tell.
Yeah, and he also has a good sense of humor.
That's exactly right. Well, folks, what a wonderful episode of Jabber John. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Kyle.
Send in your shirt suggestions.
Yep, shirt
Yeah.
submissions for a design for a Jabber John shirt. The game is on. $25 gift certificate to the Jabber John store.
Buy something that have you designed yourself.
Yes, we want art here. We don't want just.
We're gonna give Kyle $25 and send him to a thrift store to get you what you win. Go pick out your prize personally.
That's perfect. Yes.
Gosh, leaving song. This is a tough show to think of a leaving song for. I'm getting rusty. First he didn't know, and he didn't know that he didn't know. Then he didn't know, but he knew that he didn't know. Later he knew, but he didn't know that he knew. At last he knew, and he knew that he knew. He's not alone, but that on my tombstone. He rode every road and he rode down the river and sang every song that he sung for the lovers that leapt from the ledge, hung up in the night. He took it and shook it as he looked for the light. They couldn't be shown, but that on my tombstone. Oh, if somebody laughed, he'd second the motion. Though he defied it, believe deep in the notion that to write the line where the sky meets the ocean, you gotta breathe in the air like it's some kind of potion. Each breath a wild wind blown. Put that on my tombstone. Well, he fought the good fight and he fled without grieving. In small-minded rooms he said, I believe I'll be leaving. And he hung his hat where the woman he loved knew how to take it. Enough is enough. He was not unknown. Put that on my tombstone.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Thank you all so much.
I'd say that was perfect.
You just saw an artist.
No, they didn't. The camera died again.
Oh no, you just heard an artist.
That was a pileated woodpecker, folks.
Yes, it was.
Believe it or not, he had handed the guitar over to Mr. Moore, who did that last.
Nice playing, Dad. Dag naps. Ooh, I tell you what. Hey, you still got it.
I wrote that earlier today.
Yeah, that's right.
As I recall, it was really late.
Came to him in a dream last
It was
night.
about 1 o'clock. I couldn't sleep.
Yep.
Woke up, just wrote it down real